back to the Ron Burgundy Show. I'm Ron Burgundy. Go love yourself, San Diego. It's been 6 months since I last did a podcast. This is kind of insane. I've done a couple podcasts.
Has it really been 6 months?
It's been 6 months. I haven't put anything out.
Hey, by the way, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Quinn's here. Hi, Quinn.
What's going on? Not San Diego.
Everyone say hi, Quinn. Hi, Quinn.
Hi, Quinn. Hi.
Yeah. So Quinn's in the studio with me. He's going to help me record this one because we need to get a Sunday edition out.
Sunday Scaries.
Last week we posted Sunday's episode with Sammy Walter. I actually recorded that way back on I think it was like the 25th of January is when I recorded that episode.
Really?
Yeah, I think I did. And it took me until, I don't know, no, maybe it was before then. I think it would have been like the first week of January. I can't remember. But anyways, it was back in that month sometime. I did Reese's, then I did Sam's, but there's been a lot that's happened. I haven't given you guys an update on what I've been up to since then. Amazing things were happening. The podcast was doing great. We were getting a ton of views. I even think I joked that I was monetized. I'm not like actually monetized. It's just however many.
But you're eligible.
I'm eligible for monetization. Yes, thank you, Quinn. It's gonna be great to have Quinn in here. Everybody loved him in his Christmas episode, so I just was like, well, what the heck? Let's make him a little bit more permanent. A little bit more permanent.
I'm never leaving.
I had some great things happen since last time all of us have talked, or you've listened to me talk. We had Reese really liked that photo that Jonah Prill shot for me. So Jonah and I and Zach Goggins were doing like some content creation days, and the new album cover, I need to explain that. Reese really liked the photo. Jonah shot it of me. He's really good with Instagram, really good with his camera and stuff. We shot it in the cafe, Pays Cafe here in Billings, which Zach's family owns. And I took that photo. I showed it to Reese. He's like, well, let's make an album cover out of this. So he did some photoshopping and everything. He designed the logo. Kyle McLean, who's our other producer, whenever we have interviews, or if I'm interviewing Quinn, Kyle's going to be in here helping out. But I think he is. Shoot, it's been 6 months. Should probably ask him about that. But
He'll probably come back.
Yeah, he'll come back. They all worked together on putting together that album cover thing. And that was amazing. Like, that was so cool. I had a lot of people behind this and really excited about it. And life happened. Life happens as it does in a lot of people's situations. Real estate got busy. I think I got, not COVID, but I got really sick in that time.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I got sick for like a week or so. Then all of a sudden my birthday came out of nowhere, February 6th. I posted Reese's podcast. And after I posted Reese's podcast, it just kind of went radio silent. Couple reasons why. Literally like a week later, I had to repo. I have a really good friend of mine, or we've been good friends for a long time. We used to do a bunch of hay hauling business with. I was sick to my stomach about this deal that I had to do. Didn't know if I should talk about it or not. But I pretty much had to go repost some equipment of mine that I had loaned out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't loaned that out. I had loaned the equipment out like 6 or 7 months ago. Had not seen any payment or anything for this equipment being out there. And this is money that I needed for a house I was working on buying. So I was counting on being able to sell this equipment either to this gentleman or be able to sell it to somebody else and get the rent payments out of it. So I would have enough money to be able to, it wasn't necessarily my full house down payment, but just was like some cushion to be able to buy some real estate, which is what I said I was going to do in a previous podcast. Need to sell some equipment to buy a place. And I had to go repo it. And this was absolutely agonizing for me. I was sick, shaking. I couldn't nail this kid down. I had a tough time getting a hold of him. I kept getting different stories. Checks were bouncing constantly. I grabbed another buddy of mine who's had equipment repoed from him before. And so he showed me how to do it. And so we went and got my equipment back. And I had to call his boss. It was a whole thing. I had to get up 2 o'clock in the morning, do it in the middle of the night, show up on his doorstep pretty much, and hunt down my trailers. Turns out they were rented out to some other people that I didn't even know that they had them. They were using them for free. There's a lot of it was just a mess. It was a total mess. I had to go get all my stuff back. I got it back. And then one of his buddies was actually wanting one of the trailers. So I was able to sell it right there for a decent price. Then I brought the other trailer home, and believe it or not, I was able to sell the other trailer, my hay trailer, my lead trailer, to a insurance agent in town that I do insurance work with. So that was a whole ordeal. Got me back in the semi truck. That was kind of fun. It's nice to go drive my truck, the one truck I've kept. That truck was kind of a big deal for my dad and I. And honestly, that truck, I've been around that truck for the last 9-10 years. Before I owned it, another guy owned it that I learned to drive in that truck. So it's fun to get that thing out and go for a little bit of a drive with it. Thank God I did all of this before it was $6-7 for fuel. But that was a stressor. I'm just going to give you guys kind of like a play-by-play flashback, give you an idea. Is that a good idea, Quinn?
I think so, yeah.
Give everybody an idea what's going on.
Catch them up.
So we got that done. Got back. Took me a little while to get everything sold, and so I had the cash in my pocket, but I came out okay. Got my money back for the rental. Got my equipment back. That put me in a decent position to make a couple moves after that. So the other thing that really kind of threw me off, and I've been really trying to figure out how to talk about this, but a lot of my problems come from overthinking relationships and struggling with what's fair and what's not fair. And I'm always trying to be extremely fair. I was living in a situation where amazing setup, had a shop I could use every now and then, had a really nice house. You guys probably recognize that the studio's changed since when we recorded Sammy's and Reese's. We were staying at a place of my buddy's. He was letting us stay there. He kind of was helping us, in a way, help us get back on our feet. But really, it was kind of a mutual thing. We were both helping each other out. He needed someone to take care of a place. His dad passed away same time my dad passed away, within a couple months of each other. He's like, what the heck? Loved if you guys would come live here. And I was about it, but I wasn't going to pay more than what I was already paying. I could pay a little bit more, but I wasn't going to pay a whole lot more than where I was already at. I had a feeling that prices were going up. This was back in 2020 when we made this decision. And I was like, I knew that rent was going to go up. More and more people were working from home and all of that. I knew that prices were going to go up in Montana as more and more people migrated to Montana in the big migration. So I said, I can only pay so much. And I said, we'll take care of it. We'll make sure it's maintained correctly. We'll do the best things we can to make sure that this place doesn't get run down. And we'll do it for one whole year, but only if you'll sign a lease agreement. And I think we both asked for a lease agreement from each other. And we can pay this much. Otherwise, I'm just going to stay where I'm at. It is a nicer place, and it was good to have a change of scenery, but I didn't have to leave. So we went ahead and did it, and I loved it. I fell absolutely in love with this house. This guy's a brother of mine. I love this kid to death that owned it. In fact, I'll probably have him on the podcast at some point. Great guy. But we lived there for a while, and we had one room rented. Well, not really one room. We had the whole house in entirety. It was told that it was our house and everything, but I knew in the back of my head the whole time that we weren't paying very much for this thing. But it felt like we were helping each other out by doing this. So we kind of were like, okay, we're all right with this guy. Always had a lot of friends over. So we're like, all right, we're cool with having a lot of friends come over and stay here and all of this. And so we had a lot of his friends come over. A lot of them were great, were fantastic. It was a blast. They were all very, very helpful people, very, good people to live with. And then it kind of got to a point later on where we had some people move in where it was a lot tougher to live at this place, but we didn't have full control over it. And it's just because we were at a different stage in our lives. Liv and I were married. We're trying to set up our lives. This was my first full year to do real estate. And I'm trying to set up, and we work a little bit differently. I mean, Liv was kind of doing some jobs off and on, part-time, doing some sales stuff. And I was doing all of my real estate stuff. So it looks like I'm at home all the time. I'm not doing anything. But actually that year was a pretty good year. I'm saving up money. I'm putting money together. I'm trying to make my next move. But, realistically, I knew that we shouldn't stay there for more than a year to 16 months, maybe 2 years, worst case scenario. So I was trying to put money together to be able to buy a place, and in the meantime, manage all these relationships. Well, when you're married, it's very tough to live in situations where there's other people that aren't contributing as much. Let's just put it that way. And it can enable people in a lot of different ways. So we kind of discussed it. There's a lot of tension in the house, as just regular housemates can get, especially if you don't really pick your own housemates. They just kind of are there. And when that happens, you've got to make a decision. You've got to say, look, am I a cause of my own situation? Even though that I agreed to certain things were supposed to be promised and everything, and we were supposed to make a decision, make things work, but there's clearly some miscommunication. Am I going to keep staying in that place and be a victim, or am I going to move out and just be grateful for the time that we had? I struggled with this move out. This crushed me. I really enjoyed hanging out with everybody, but I knew that wasn't a good place for my family. And also, it enabled me. While I was worried about enabling other people, I was enabled this entire time to live in a house that I really didn't earn. It was given to me, I felt like, out of pity. We did our best to maintain it and take care of it and do right by the owner. But because I knew the current rates in town, I felt more and more and more guilty about this thing. And I needed to be the little bird in the nest that just jumped out of the nest. So in February, we just made an abrupt decision. We had the capital. We had bought a house already out of town. We made the abrupt decision to just get out. And I felt like there was a lot of people that did not like us. And I think that this is probably true. They don't like us. I got along great with the owner, but a lot of people thought that we were taking advantage of the owner. And that was the last thing that I ever wanted to do. So as soon as our 1-year agreement was up, I paid double for the last month we were there while it took us time to go find another place. We found another place that was in much worse condition for more money. Although it gave us a lot more space, technically, in a way, that we didn't feel bad about. And, so we went from $800 to $1,000. And now we have 2-bed, 2-bath, full garage, and all this other stuff. It just worked for us a lot better, honestly. So we did that. But the emotional toll on this, because I overthink my relationships. I'm so worried about what other people think. I'm so worried about how are people feeling. I'm so worried about all of this stuff. And then I'm moving into a place that I absolutely hate. It smells like cigarette smoke. It's on the other side of town. I don't have a place to be able to do projects like I did my pickup project last year. And I just felt like we left in a bad way. I never wanted it to be in a bad way. I really wanted this to be a situation where I could buy the house across the street from where this was. I loved it so much. But it was good. It was good to move out. Pain is one of the best things to motivate and to be educated from. And I feel really proud that I was in a place where I had financial status and the ability to be able to go somewhere else. But what does always sting is when you're trying to do the best by somebody and do the best thing to make sure that you're not enabling a situation and you're not being enabled by their situation, is to separate the two situations. Because if that's a question, then neither one is gaining. You need to just get out. So if you have a relationship like that, where you're wondering if you're being taken advantage of, or maybe you're taking advantage of someone else, you need to get out. You need to figure out how to work on your own. Because clearly there's some kind of stall in maturity that has happened, or some kind of emotional degradation that's happening. And if you feel indebted to somebody like that in that way, and you're not able to pay it back just because of your current mindset or state of being, you need to get out. You need to figure that out, because you're not helping anybody. You're not helping anyone. And sadly, the people that do the most for others get taken advantage a lot in this world. And if you're taking advantage of anybody, get out. Go be in a position where you can be taken advantage of, so that you know what it's like. I mean, go give. If you're not hosting, I think you're taking. So always be working to be a host. Always be working to have a mindset of abundance. And that's just my lesson from that. A lot of lessons were learned in the last couple months. So we got out. We figured it out. We moved into this place that, we couldn't sleep at night. My throat was bleeding because it smelled so much like smoke. We doused the walls. We cleaned the walls. I wrote an email that was a half-mile long, like an inspection report for the new move-in. I used all of my talents to best use to get that done. But you know what? I said, we made it work. We bought a property. It might be 2 hours away, but we're moving up. Even if it's got to be uncomfortable for a little while, we're moving up. And Quinn, do you smell the cigarette smoke here as much anymore? Is it a little bit better?
No.
So look, we're making it better. So February on, real estate got kind of busy. This is really good for me because real estate started to slow down real bad about a month ago, month and a half ago. But real estate got busy there in March. I got sick again. Then so Easter happened, March happened. All of March, it pretty much took us to adjust to the new property, the new place that we were in. And we bought our house in February 24th. Up in White Sulphur Springs. This house deal. Now, this is a whole nother thing that we can learn about a little bit here, or everybody can. I came out of last year with a pretty good war stash here. I got quite a bit in debt. I mean, I'm still paying about, I don't know. I had like at this point in time, I had about $40,000-$50,000 in debt. Not a whole lot in credit cards. We're in decent shape. I do have some taxes I got to cover for the last year, but we're in pretty good shape. And, but we can't get financed. We're trying to find a house in Billings. Everything is way too expensive. We can't get financed. So I devised a plan. I've been looking at smaller towns outside of Billings. And I'm going to give away my whole investment strategy here, but we'll see for the 10 people that are listening now, because we lost everybody after the 6-month break. Probably doesn't matter.
They'll come back.
But the investment strategy was I need to be my own bank. And this might sound crazy to some people, but when you can't be lent by an operation that has a ton of checks and balances because they don't like the way that your income has looked for the last year because you've switched jobs too much, but you still have a decent cash position, and you don't want to burn that whole cash position, you can get creative. I didn't want to throw 25% down on a property because then I would lose a remodel budget that I could leverage. I would lose payments if for some reason stuff got crazy and I lost a bunch of income this year, which turned out happening. Then I would be able to cover payments for a couple, 6 months or 8 months. I would lose a ton of options if I lost cash. So at this time I decided, okay, I'm going to do the best I can. Whenever I find a deal, I'll do the best I can to get financed, but I will not get financed just to get a deal done. So I will go and actively present every time I find a property off market or on market or some for sale by owner, whatever. I will always write an offer. I will make an honest effort to get financed. If I can't get financed, I will show them the best thing I can do and still guarantee that they're going to get their money out of me. And I will give as fair of a deal as possible. So I happened to find a deal. They hated real estate agents. Haha, funny, believe it or not. They didn't want to list it. I offered them to list it. I said, look, I can list this for you and probably get you more money. This is the most I can offer you, but if I offer you this and I can get this deal done, I guarantee you this will be a no headache sale. I'll take care of everything. I will throw everything out. There's a hoarder house. I'll clean everything up. And at the very least, you're going to get the house back. If I miss more than 3 payments, you're going to get the house back and it's going to be in better shape. I can guarantee that. I wrote it all up. I put it in an offer. I tried to get finance one more time through hard money and it was just so expensive. I decided, if you guys can sell or finance this is how much I can put down on it. I'll cover all the closing costs. You're going to save this much money by not going through a realtor. They'd already had the property listed at one other point 2 or 3 years ago for the same price. I said, but I'll just take it for $10,000 over that price, and I'll take it off your hands. You don't have to worry about it. They went for it. They did it. Let's be completely honest. This has been on my prayer board for like 8 months. For getting this thing done. This is not a deal that I necessarily had to work the hardest for. I had just been looking for. And then it was a culmination of all of my talents and skills built up over the last couple of years and watching Zach, my business partner, go through thousands and thousands of dollars on remodels. I learned enough to be dangerous, to make a decision and to just get it done and lock it up. We got locked up. We are officially in there. The whole thing is torn apart down to the studs. Been working on it for the last month and a half. Quinn's been up there helping me out. And I got a great family help me on it. But it turned out to be a really good deal. Turned out to work out good. We're still contract for deed. I have 2 years to refinance it. I'm going to do the best I can to refinance it by the end of this year because I just don't want to deal with the interest rates. But the deal is, I'll just tell you the deal. We bought the place for $135. I put $16 down on it, covered all the closing costs. I owe about $120 on it. Financed for 2 years at 6% or 7%. I can't remember interest rate. I did it amortized on a 30-year, 2-year balloon. payments come out to be about $980, $950 a month after taxes. These people are earning all the interest on it. I did it a trust indenture. I learned a ton about that stuff. I called a bunch of other mortgage brokers and everything like that to see how to write this deal correctly and make sure that it was in favor of both parties, and made sure it worked like that. And I pretty much took this thing as is. I didn't nitpick. I didn't do anything. I walked through it. I checked it out. And I said, I'll accept all liability, which is kind of a big risk. There could have been, and I still don't know, the air conditioner could be shot. All of the plumbing in the house was shot. The electrical I'm having to move around. All of the flooring, walls, panels, ceiling tiles, ceiling panels, lighting, the whole kitchen. I demoed all of it. This thing smelt so bad, had so much stuff in it, even after they moved some stuff out. Thank you so much. God bless. If you ever listen to this podcast, appreciate you guys taking some of that stuff out of there. This thing's a job. It's a job. There's no real opportunity out there that you don't take a risk on. And I would think this is probably one of the easiest deals I'll probably ever do in my life. Quinn even walked up there and said, hey, this isn't that bad. You might have gotten a decent deal on this. Yeah.
Could have.
Yeah.
Could have.
We'll see how it goes. But that's the situation there. Very excited about that. That's probably what's going to pay our bills this year if we decide to sell it, or if we keep it and Airbnb it, or if we just have to move into it. Who knows? Billings is going down the crapper quick. No.
Hey.
The crime rates are through the roof. Anyways, so that deal's done. That all happened, wrapped up February 24th. We never looked at that property again. I didn't go up there until the week before I went to Ireland. And that was in May. I think I went up there and looked at it one more time before we took off, went overseas. Completely forgot about it. We're trying to scramble. Quinn moved home.
I did.
Quinn moved home. Welcome, Quinn.
So glad to be here. I forget that we haven't updated your followers since then. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back in Billings.
You're back in Billings doing some video work, doing some real estate work. You got your real estate license.
I did. I got licensed. That was a whole adventure. Really good time there. I guess to be fair, we recorded a short little podcast probably like a month ago, right after I moved back, maybe a month and a half ago, where we went over all this, but we never put it out. We kind of listened back to it, and it was subpar, off the cuff, but it was good. It was good that we did it, just to like remind ourselves, remind you, like, hey, we still have this thing going on. Yeah, no, I'm back. I moved back. Drew came up there and rescued me with a stock trailer, and we got all that figured out. That was an adventure.
Moved home from Bozeman.
I
want to try a couple different things. I was just going to say, before you jump on it, Quinn was, I was talking to Zach. We need to figure out how to build a team this year. I want to figure out how to get people underneath us and start building something out. Quinn had been kicking around the idea of coming back home for a while. And one thing that Quinn and I have always been really good at is conversation. We got a little charisma. We're good talkers. And I thought, well, maybe Quinn, you should look into doing sales. You should find some kind of a sales gig if you're getting kind of tired of doing the hard labor. Which you've done hard labor for like what, maybe a year?
Yeah.
What
a
were you
year
doing
and then
up there?
just off and on growing up doing farm stuff.
Yeah. But what were you doing up there? Siding and stuff, right?
I was doing mostly exterior siding and soffit, fascia and stuff. We did some windows as well. Probably a couple other projects thrown in there, but mostly exterior siding, soffit, and fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for a buddy, a really good friend of mine. Shout out Tor. And I was his first employee. So he started his own company. Kid's a wizard, knows his stuff really well. But about a year into it, I just kind of decided this is not what I wanted to do. Wasn't working out for me. And I had just kind of grown tired of Bozeman, as it seems a lot of folks my age do that live there. People that move there more further down the road in life, they can afford a house, they can get set up, they can put down roots. There's a bigger community, I think, for that there. For people my age, there's a huge community, but people come and go very quickly, whether they're there for college, they're just in town to work during a seasonal job or whatever. People come and go, and I kind of missed having a base. which I still have good friends up there, but I kind of knew that this was not the place to set up the rest of your life, so to speak. It's really hard to get ahead in that town without a white collar degree or without being in a white collar a position, so to speak. You can definitely make good money as a blue collar worker. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of opportunities, but it was just stuff that didn't interest me anymore. And yeah, just had some personal things change. I had some stuff get flipped on its head pretty quick on me. And I just decided it was a good time to come home. And I was talking to you, Drew, about, well, I'm not sure I want to be here anymore. I'm getting kind of tired of this. I think it's time for me to do something different. And that's when you presented the idea to me of, well, what about trying real estate? And you kind of lined me out on what it would take. And I'm one of those people where like I hear an idea and to its detriment or its benefit, I get an idea and I'm just like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. Whatever. And I just go do it. And it seems to be the only time I'm very effective is when I just off the cuff flip. That's when I get the most done, which, like I said, has its pros and its cons, its detriments and benefits. That mindset has taken me to a lot of cool places in life. Got me to Bozeman's, taken me to the Arctic Circle. I've toured the country doing stuff like that, just being like, okay, screw what I'm doing. I'm out. Let's do something else. But yeah, that also has its downsides as well. I have also had great experiences and then been left high and dry before doing things like that. And that's definitely something you and I talk a lot about with me struggling coming back here. I did it off the cuff, came down here, scrambled last minute to get my real estate license. That was a whole cross the state 3-day marathon of just tears and gas station food and just running around. And now that I'm here, well, big shout out. It's been hard. It's been really, you told me off the bat, real estate is not easy. It's going to take a lot of effort. And something that I'm still struggling to make the switch on is, I don't work for anybody. No one calls me in the morning and says, hey, this is where you're going today. This is your job. I don't have a job site I show up to every day. Nothing's lined out for me. It's all self-starter. You work for yourself and this is your own business. Yes, I'm attached to a brokerage. Yes, I work with you and Zach and Cleto and all those guys with Rosethorn and the Goggins Company. But at the end of the day, real estate is your own business. So you're responsible. You're the person making phone calls. And these are all things I know in my head. And when I tell them to anyone else, it's very easy for me to relay these subjects, but it is very difficult for me to act on them day in and day out. So I know I might sound confident, like I know what I'm doing with this. I'm learning. It's been a hard learn. Every day, not a kick in the teeth, but every day is something different. And I still daily struggle. I'll get up and spend, a majority of my time, I'm not being efficient. I'm not being successful. And I'm not setting myself up. So it's a mindset change and it's one that I'm struggling with. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot that goes with that. So since, Quinn pretty much, we pretty much had is Quinn, Olivia, and Cleto. I mean, last year, anybody and their dog wanted to join real estate. So it looked pretty good, and we were doing pretty good. I was talking about it. It looked like I was thriving, and I was. We had a good year, but I was thriving because I had clicked and jived with another person, and I had already had quite a bit of prior experience. I'd been in real estate for 3 or 4 years, so when I was able to jump in with Zach, and we were able to work together, he gave me an amazing opportunity. We were able to kickstart it and get going a lot faster than somebody that hasn't been interested in it for the last 4 or 5 years, hasn't learned and listened to every single podcast there ever was about it, like hasn't had the same life experience in a similar field. We're in big ticket sales. It's long-term relationships. Things don't close for 4 or 5 months when we do get them under contract sometimes, especially in a downturn market. I feel like I talk things up, make them sound better than they are, but then Quinn kind of got a more serious look at it from Zach. Zach straight, point blank, God bless you, Zach, told Quinn, yeah, if I was going to get in real estate, I wouldn't do it now. This is not the time.
Which I've heard from a lot of people.
And there's a ton more real estate agents that started literally at the beginning of this year.
1,100.
Yeah, there's 1,100 then, but there was like 1,400 agents in this town. It's insane. It's insane because everybody and their dog saw what a good year it was the last couple of years. And then they're like, New Year's resolution, I'm going to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And no, this is a market where people scramble. I don't think that the market's going to tank, but it definitely slowed down. Interest rates are going to prices aren't going to drop necessarily, but there's going to be a lot fewer transactions. There's going to be a lot fewer buyers, and listers are a lot harder to acquire. And when you do find a lister, getting the price right to get the right buyer, it's going to start being a little bit different. It's not going to tank, but it's going to grow a lot slower, or it's going to be stable for a while. It's just going to be a little different field out there. But the people that make a lot of money in this, or that can survive in the downturns, are the ones that typically come out really well in the upturns. So 5 to 10 years, we might be in a really good spot. This brought a lot of stress for me in the month leading up to, or 2 months leading up to, Zach going out of town to get married. Congratulations, Zach. Number one, I was really stressed about paying to go on that trip. I had other people that I felt like I should have also gone on trips for and gone and hung out with. And here I am flying overseas for the first time in my life, leaving the country, for a friend of mine. And it was tough. It was really tough to make the decision to go and do this. I love Zach to death. There's a lot of things there that I just was struggling with, though, going overseas, when I know that the market's slowing down. I just bought a house. This total trip is probably going to cost me $3,000 or $4,000, which in the light of things isn't really a lot for a 10-day trip overseas, but it was still a stressor. Both Zach and I are going to be gone, so the company doesn't get run when Zach and I are gone. And also, it's like the busiest time of the year. That's the time when we need to be gearing up, and now we're watching the market fall apart, and we're taking off on a vacation.
And that was my first week.
And that was Quinn's first week. Quinn got trained up just so he could, like, last minute, all right, well, then if we're doing this, the best time for Quinn to get in is to be able to help manage it while we're gone. So Quinn jumped in the game. Cleto jumped in the game. They both had their licenses, but they had no training whatsoever, other than I ran them through a couple listings that we were working on at the time. I ran them through a couple properties we had going on, showed them how to show them, and pretty much got on a plane and left. And I was freaking out for the first couple days. I was pretty sick. It's the first time I've been on overseas flight ever, but also just that big of a flight in general since my dad died in a plane crash. And there's a lot of emotions. With that trip. But I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with that trip. That was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. I've never taken a vacation like that in the last 25, 26 years of my life. I'm 26 years old. And I'm absolutely in love with international travel. I loved Ireland. Liv and I had a blast. We had an amazing time. We did public travel all over. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I can't say enough. I loved it. I fell in love with it. I came back a different person. I truly believe that. A lot less serious. Crap hits the fan. and I still and I have a little lighter attitude about it. I feel like, I don't know. I'm getting better at recovering and not taking myself so seriously and letting myself go and take a couple vacations. And I'm just starting to gain a little more confidence in myself than I feel like I had in years past. I also feel like I've done a lot of growing in relationships, especially from that trip, but also everything I've dealt with in the last 5 or 6 months. Because then right before that, it was my dad's death anniversary, Quinn and I's dad's death anniversary. That's always a hard time. April's always a hard month. I was super sick again for Easter. I got back from Ireland. I was super sick for another 5 days. I think I had influenza A. And here we are. We've been scratching and pulling. 4 or 5 months goes by quick. And here we are in July, just getting back on the bandwagon here. So that's kind of the gist. We've had a couple blows financially in the last month, a couple weeks. I don't know if people had done any research into the Celsius company that I was invested in a while back, but they just went bankrupt. I lost north of 10 figures in that, or not 10 figures. Holy cow. 5 figures 5 figures in that debacle. They just filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This is not a good year to be losing money like that, especially when you're counting on that money to be saved. But when you invest in non-FDIC insured companies, that will bite you in the pants. Sometimes. I mean, there was a while there where everyone wasn't betting on the government. I'll tell you that much. So
Still aren't.
yeah. So this DeFi crypto stuff looked a lot better, and it tanked. And it didn't completely wipe us out, but I mean, it knocked out 15-20% probably of my liquidity. So we're gonna have to pull back from that. It's been one of the slowest summers I've had for real estate. I got a lot more listings this year, much larger listings, but nothing seems to be moving just because buyers are scared. They don't know if the market's going to tank. Should they buy a little bit later?
I mean, my 2 cents on that
Jump in.
There's this to consider. The U.S. federal government has never really been that successful at maintaining its own economy. We have a lot of swings in the U.S., and that might be worldwide. I haven't done my research. So yes, we all know the government is not the most trustworthy financial institution. But there's one thing that they do have a lot more practice at, and that's toppling other people's financial institutions. And so, I'm not saying they did it, but I'm just saying they're not big fans of non-FDIC insured maneuvers there. So just something to keep in mind as you spread your investing strategy out. Yes, the U.S. government sucks, but if they're going to make other people suck more than them. So anyways, back to what you're saying.
Yeah. So that kind of hurt. Man, there's just been a lot of division policy wise, politically. This is I felt this a lot taken in my relationships. And I haven't really been sticking with my Bible study stuff or any of that. So just moving into the personal feelings on the state of affairs in the world right now. But yeah, it's been hard to find a lot of joy. It takes a lot out of me to train up Quinn and Cleto and other and just get everybody on board with that. That's a lot more work than I expected. No offense to them. It's just navigating familiar relationships and then going from navigating familiar relationships to navigating business relationships.
Adding them together.
And adding them all together. Yeah. And Quinn, yeah, we've talked about this. Quinn and I struggled with Take Initiative, and here we are doing real estate again. And that takes a huge toll on me. I want to be liked, but I also want to be a leader. I want our business to succeed, but I also want them to succeed. I oftentimes will focus and gravitate towards other people's problems before I fix my own, when really I should be leading by example. So I'll blame that I'm spending all this time on someone else when really I should just be working on myself and not try to be the hero of the situation. But then I feel like people feel like they're getting left in the dust and they're not getting the kind of help and training that they feel like they maybe deserve.
Remove the possibility for blame.
Yeah,
Just a quick little anecdote there. Just remove the possibility for blame.
Yeah.
Away from, don't even let it creep in. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I've been, that's tough to navigate those relationships. This is the whole plan of the business. I was supposed to build up the real estate company and go for that. Zach's really been chasing the music dream, and he's been killing it. He's going after it. He's getting it done. I think he's going to pop off here really soon, but there's only so much time in the day. So I've been struggling with how to manage my time, just like Quinn was talking about, in order to not only be a provider for myself and my family, but also for my team. We don't necessarily, they don't work for me or anything like that. However, we are definitely tied in together financially, and we're tied in together just in an overall camaraderie standpoint, because it's hard to build a brokerage without having some other people that are willing to take the load here and there and go back and forth and learn. And this whole game for me is bringing up others around me and building a team. There's no reason for me to do anything else if I don't have a team around me. I enjoy the team aspect. I enjoy building a team. I enjoy building a company. I don't want to build a solopreneur thing. I've always wanted to have people around me to build things up. And I don't even need to necessarily be the face. I just want to be right there in the fight with someone else. You know, I just want to have a team around me when I'm making this fight happen. But political strife, holy cow. I mean, this Roe v. Wade thing happened. There's people throwing parties, you know, on the weekends that are like, I hate America parties on 4th of July and everything. This takes a toll on me whenever people have dissenting politics and everything. And sadly, I'm pretty opinionated. I'm trying all the time to try to be more open-minded on this stuff. But I'm somebody that puts myself in positions with a lot of other people with differing views. Because I know what it's like when I'm in the same position as a bunch of people that feel the same way as I don't grow very much. Not saying that I'm getting persuaded by other people's views, but I know that I need to be around people that don't believe in the same things I believe in, just because that's life. And that's how you learn even more about relationships, and you learn how to handle them. And one of my favorite things to do, as painful as it is to overcome political boundaries. I made some wonderful friends, Liv and I did, while we were in Ireland. Some friends of the wedding party we'd never met before, but of the bride's wedding party. We became really good friends with them, and they were just left and right slamming conservative values and everything like that. And that was kind of hard to sit there and listen to that for an hour train ride. And they thought we were all on board. I mean, there's a lot of things why they would probably think that we were on board, but we weren't on board. And then I told them at the very end of that, I was like, yeah, so I voted for him twice, you know, and that just like shut it down. I was like, but hey, we can be friends. Like, it's fine if we talk about this stuff. We believe differently. Like, we're on a trip in another country. We're already been doing great the last couple of days. Let's figure it out. Let's talk about it. And so that's something I really enjoy. That was one of the most enjoying things on the trip. I just struggle with trying to build a company and trying to build a life and do all these things where I feel like oftentimes I have no problem with hearing and accepting other people's viewpoints, and I hear them constantly, and I may not partake in an abortion party or I hate America party. But I feel like if I speak out or Liv speaks out ever, we kind of get ostracized in it, and it can hurt sometimes. You don't see and you don't meet a whole lot of conservative younger folks anymore that have enough, I don't know how to say this well, that really listen to both sides of the story and still maintain most of their conservative values and try to listen as much as possible to both sides of the story. And then when you try to bring up an argument that might be a little bit different, or you have a different opinion on something, all of a sudden you just get shut out. And Liv and I have been kind of feeling that. And I think it's because we haven't been hanging out with a lot of our church folks as much as we used to back in October, November, when I was starting this podcast, or December, whatever, and working on that stuff. So I'm looking to probably find some more of that so we can keep feeling like we're not the only ones with the values that we have. But this Roe v. Wade thing, I just have a thought on this. I just had to say this because I was like, man, I really don't think anybody wants more abortions. I think that I don't think people want more loss of life. I think that the circumstances that people are in, they feel entitled to have certain situations come out in a certain way because they see themselves as victims. But this is not me speaking to the woman or the woman's choice. The only thing I have to say on this Roe v. Wade thing is, and hopefully this doesn't anger anybody, I don't think it should, but I think a lot of it has to do with weak men in this country. And this is going to sound maybe biased, like men only have the option here, but it takes two to tango. Scientifically, it takes two to tango. And I think a lot of the men in this world feel like they're entitled to sex, and women feel the same way, and that's understandable. And sex is a beautiful thing. It was created for us to be able to enjoy it. Or that's what I believe. But it is not a without consequence thing. And I think weak men having sex with women that they know that they don't want to have a child with, that they know that they don't want to be responsible for any kind of consequences with, they know they don't want to go through life with, that's a weak man. Because now it's only a selfish need to go and get their rocks off so that and at the expense of another life, at the expense of her life, at the expense of the child's life. I don't know for sure, and I don't know what the outcome would be, but I would think in most situations, if it was somebody you really loved and you were really wanted to be a part of that person's life, you would have the baby if pregnancy happened. And I just want to remind people, I don't think sex is a right. I don't think men are not entitled to sex with whatever woman they choose, especially if they're not willing to take responsibility for what happens. And taking responsibility does not mean ending someone else's life. That's not really taking responsibility. That's kind of a convenience. Not saying that abortion is necessarily a convenience. There's a lot of instances where I guess it's necessary when it comes to, all the different medical procedures and all of that. I just would call for more men to be responsible. Just be responsible, guys. Just be better men. Be stronger men. I'm not even going to talk about, I'm not even going to talk about wrapping it up. That's a good idea, but men need to be stronger. If men chased and did the hard things in life and had more purpose, had more sense of purpose, self-love and all of that, and they had other things to go to, the perfect woman will come into their lives and be excited to join them in the adventure. They really will. And then after that point, it's a beautiful thing. You're going to be able to put together some amazing lives. If you want to have kids, you're going to give them the option to do the same thing that you did. So that's the only thought on that. And I just had to say that because I just hear so much other stuff from the other side and from all sides. And I'm just like, hey, why aren't we ever talking about men and men's role in this? Let's just see the men step up a little bit or step away in a very literal sense. Just step away from that one, fellas. Just wait. Just hold off here and make the right decision so that you're not forcing a woman to make a decision on her own. That's really the key here. Quinn, what do you think? Is that a pretty fair assessment there?
Yeah, I think that's, I've never heard your viewpoint on it and I was happy to hear it.
Yeah.
And I think I think you framed it well.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were really spooked by what I would say on that. I've talked this over with a couple different people, both sides.
I'm sure.
And they're like, you're going to get canceled, dude. And I was just like, no.
We're not big enough to be canceled yet.
Yeah. My 10 people that cancel me. Can they see?
Just keep it a little lower. You're fine.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thought on that, man. Step up. Go listen to some Jordan Peterson, Make Your Bed.
Okay, now you're getting canceled. You dropped that name. Now you're done.
Yeah. Oof. Okay, maybe not. I'm just calling for some self-responsibility here, fellas.
Which I think everyone needs a little bit more of that.
I think everyone needs a little self-accountability.
Yeah.
Hearing you say that, I love that.
I understand what's best for me. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it all the time.
Yeah. Did you know that I had the option? Just kidding. For abortion, I had a scare. I had a super scare. Scared the crap out of me.
All right.
Yeah. First time I ever did intercourse. I'm not saying I'm not to blame, but I'm just saying, look, I've been in the position.
Uh-huh.
And I was young, and I immediately was like, plan B, like whatever we got to do. Like just get
rid of it.
Not been the first person to. I've not been in this situation. I'm not saying I haven't been in this situation.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks convenient because I screwed up. I was a weak person, a weak man, 16 years old, screwed up. 16, 17 years old. I can't remember. Sorry, mom and dad. Well, sorry, mom. Dad already knows. I think.
Probably.
And yeah, man, it's not like it's a real thing and it's a real option. But I just ask for more accountability. And I'm not perfect. I am far from perfect. Go back and listen to my other podcasts. You'll find that out. Broken man over here. All right, so got that out of the way. So all of that combined, I've kind of summed up a couple different sayings that I was writing down the other day. And I want to go ahead and bring these up because this is things that I've learned in the last couple months. And I think I had some more here. I don't know.
You got a lot of notes over there.
I got a lot of notes. This is a really good one here. Life is all about managing relationships, not manipulatively, but sometimes in the interest of others more than yourself. So I've been trying to teach Quinn a little bit about this. This is something I had to learn last year working with Zach. Zach has a mind of abundance like nobody's business. He can handle a ton of stress. He can handle a ton of different projects all at once. And he is never worried about there not being enough. I mean, he's worried sometimes, but he's able to take on a lot of different people's stresses, their thought processes, what they're worried about, and handle it in a way that's just unbelievable. And he still is always very objectively based. So he's still going, okay, but what was the goal here? You need to get this property bought. Or you need to walk away from this property, then he just is always in the best interest of others. And I think that's why he attracts so much business, but also he attracts a lot of goodwill towards him. And it's because he's always thinking of the best of other people. I feel like, and the best might not look like the best for that person in that moment. But he's pretty emotionally intelligent. And that's just one way I've learned it. I've learned that. I always try to think of that. What's the best for this person? Even if it means them never talking to me again or doing something with me again. I'm always trying to do the best, think about what could be possibly the best for this person. I already said this earlier, touched on it. If you aren't hosting, you are taking. And if you are hosting, do it wholeheartedly, but don't do it without a timeline / end date. Everything is finite and it's good for everyone to have deadlines. I think that's really good. I kind of came up with that because I put a deadline on remodeling this house, September 1st. Mm-hmm. We put a deadline on moving out of that other place. It was a 1-year deal. We stayed for 1 extra month and then we immediately paid double that month. We didn't have to, but we did. And we did it for ourselves because it taught us a lesson, even though it was not in the contract or anything like that to do that. This is a crazy one. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. Another reason why I haven't been putting out my own. My First Million, amazing podcast. The All In podcast, amazing podcast. These guys have been just giving me so much good information last couple.
Shout out Bigger Pockets as well.
Oh, Bigger Pockets has been good. I've got Quinn hooked on Bigger Pockets. David Green over there, he wrote a great book called Sold. Quinn's little homework.
Halfway through it.
There you go. Good job. But I heard on My First Million, they're doing an interview with a guy that's a big tech millionaire. They're always talking to millionaires and billionaires on there. He planned his life backwards from the day he planned to die. He set a deadline, said the rest of my family typically dies at these ages. I took the median of those ages and I picked a day to die. He said at 83 years old, no matter where in the world, he's dying. It's over.
The crazy thing is people that usually set deadlines like that follow through with them, which is kind of weird to think about, but.
So he did that. And then he said, okay, I have, at this time he was like 21 or 22 years old. So he said he had like 60 years left. I have 60 summers left. I have 60 winters left. I have 60 birthdays left, 60 Christmases left. Okay. Couple of these years I'm going to be sick. I won't be able to do anything. Couple of these years I'm going to be in build mode. Couple of these years I'm going to be, the last 3 or 4 years I might not be able to move. I might be, I might lose the loss of my legs. I might get in an accident and make this even shorter. He's like, I kind of took the average and I made 83 a mark. And these guys are arguing on the podcast. They're saying, how in the world could you do that? Like, medicine's going to be so good. You could live to 150 years old. He's like, no, I'm dying at 83 years old. That's it. It's my drop dead date. So he planned back every day after that. And you know what I thought about, Quinn? I'm so glad you're on this podcast. I thought about competition shooting.
Oh, I thought you were thinking of some other deal we made.
No. Well, unless you tell me what you're thinking about. But hear this out. When you're competition shooting, there's only 100 clays. Every time you miss a clay, you're that much less likely to win. So if you think about it this way, all 100 clays are broke. You're going on into a tie and to be able to fight for one more. You have the opportunity to be able to win, but you don't have the opportunity to win unless you break all 100 clays. So the first clay, if you miss it, you've lost your opportunity to win. You guarantee you lose the opportunity if it's a tie. You lose 2 and you're more likely. And you could do this in the first 2 shots right out of the gate. You lose 2 and it's like, it's almost over. But for some reason, you have to keep going. For some reason, you have to go and shoot the whole 100.
Yeah.
Even though you already know you've lost. And
But you still, that's the thing, is you still have to do it.
You still have to do it. You still have to do it.
Even though you know you might have already lost, you
because
still
it
have
could
to
still
do it.
place you for another tournament.
Right.
You like. So I just think that is so interesting, because the next year he breaks his legs and he loses the ability to do half the things he wanted to do in the next 80 years, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still got to do it. So anyways, I thought that was interesting. Plan your life backwards. It's kind of a morbid way to do it, but go and do that. Go and face some hard facts. Go face some hard facts and deal with it.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll love your life a little bit more. Now this is a little different situation here, but this is the next thing I have. Lead with love and always wanting the best for others. So that was in tie with the other one I had. Always.
Very simple concept to state.
Yeah.
Very hard to follow through on.
Yeah. And love is not giving the best for someone else, spoiling someone else. Love is something different. Love is like leading with love is wanting the best for them, loving them enough to choose for themselves what they're going to do. And when they screw up royally, and all the way to the point of wrecking everything that you have going for yourself, you still figure out a way to love them. Whether that means sending them away because that's best in their interests, you thinking the best of their interests, or it means bringing them back in and letting them try it one more time, and then they rob you blind. Like love is trying to truly lead from a standpoint of what does we have a thing in Christianity where Jesus Christ shows us what real love is. He loves sinners and all these other people. He does, and it's very hard to be Jesus Christ, but that's how we. That's
impossible.
It's impossible.
Some
but
would say
that's how we can gauge what real love is. That's the thing there. So, anyways, there's that. But you can't do that until you draw boundaries and love yourself, which is what I've learned. You truly don't know how to love someone else if you can't love the person you are given to be responsible of, and that's your body and yourself. If you can't love yourself, and I mean not this selfish like, I'm out here buying a nice coffee, loving myself today, I don't know why I'm saying it in a girl voice or whatever, but guys do this too. Guys are like, oh man, I worked so hard today. I'm going to go drink a beer and watch some, whatever, like Rick and Morty or whatever. Like I'm so like, I need to love myself today. Like, no, I'm not talking about that kind of love. I'm talking about putting yourself in hard positions, trying your best, failing, loving yourself so much you're willing to pull out of that and figure out how to do it better and healthier the next time for somebody else or for yourself. And so that I think you really can't love someone else until you really learn how to love yourself. Believe it or not, me going on this Ireland trip, that taught me a lot more about loving myself, and then being more graceful with others and all of this stuff. It taught me a lot, because that's something that is so out of the ordinary for me. Now, there's a lot of people where loving themselves would have been staying home and learning how to run a business instead of escaping what they dread or whatever, because they can go on another trip, Loving yourself is wanting the best for yourself, and the best for yourself is discipline and breaking points and discomfort and learning from it.
Sure.
But that was my other portion of that. That's pretty much it there. There's a couple quotes for you. You can use those. Maybe I'll put them in the show notes. Quinn will put them in the show notes. I don't know. This has been an interesting last couple months. Liv and I have had a couple tough goes. I'm really struggling with learning how to be a better leader. Not being necessarily likable, but being a good example for others. I really want to build a multi-million-dollar company, and every day I'm reminded, as I listen to a whole nother podcast by someone else, how much farther along everyone else is. I want to build a big company. I want to build a great team. I want to give the opportunity to other people around me to have what is true wealth. And it's more so than just a lot of money. I think in the process of trying what only the 1% can accomplish, you find the meaning of life, and then you get to the point where the 1% measured by financial status is, and the best case scenario, if you realize that it's really not, the money's not worth it. It's that you've figured out how to build these very intricate relationships, these very intricate models that can lift other people out of poverty. They can lift other people out of despair and depression, and it can give people purpose. It can give other people a little bit of breathing room. And I think at the end of it all, you kind of go, okay, wow, I beat the world game, and you're going to be empty that you've beaten the world game. And then you're going to realize the only thing I have left is my relationships and memories. And that's what I'm trying to do. I just want to do what the 1% can do, whether that be physically, mentally, fiscally, lovingly. I want to do the best I can do in those areas. And it's a very painful path. And it oftentimes will get in the way of you being able to record it, document it, and teach others. But thank goodness for a lot of my friends, I'm able to get back in the studio and record another podcast, get us back on the road. So that's what we're doing with this thing. We're going to keep on trying to lift other people up, talk about best things that work for me, best practices, help other people get recognized for the deeds and traits and things that they've done and what they're capable of. And that's the whole point of this. And we're back on the game, baby. We're gonna try to get an episode out every Sunday. I've met a whole bunch of new people since last February.
Is that what you decided on? Every Sunday?
I think every Sunday we're gonna be putting one out.
Okay.
I got people that I can't say their names of because I need to lock them in for dates. But I'm really excited to bring some people on that have some pretty interesting stories to tell. It might look like that I'm only picking people that are fiscally better off than me. But they are not only fiscally better off than me. They're learning how to manage other relationships. They just so happen to have the numbers to their name that I can quantify. It's hard for me to quantify relationships and people's abilities. I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning how to determine whether someone's good with relationships that I'm excited to bring them on. But people are messy, and it's easier to quantify numbers than it is their ability to be liked by others or ability to lead others. That's just a hard place to manage. So I'm still trying to learn how to do that. But don't get me wrong. I'm completely materially based or measuring by material. I'm not. It's just that's what I'm currently interested in. So I'm learning how to do it, and we'll still talk about relationships and stuff. I mean, I truly don't think the relationships can happen, or the money and the fiscal material things and all that stuff can happen without good relationships. But that's the world I want to believe in anyways. I mean, there's a lot of crooked ways to do it, but I clearly don't have the stomach for that. Otherwise I would have already done them. I would have already done them if I had the stomach for it. Anything you want to add, Quinn? I think I'm going to call that an episode.
Work on your mindset.
You tell me to work on my mindset?
Everyone.
Got any tips for me? Questions, comments, concerns?
Not yet. I'm working on it myself.
Anybody you want to see on the pod?
Haven't been working on a guest list right now. I couldn't give you a name off the top of my head.
Anybody on YouTube you like a bunch? We can get in here. That Jackson Lebsack. We need to get him
Jackson
in here.
Lebsack. Yeah, we talked about him. But you said we weren't going to give names.
I know.
You just goofed it.
I say that all the time.
Say I'm not giving names, and you start throwing out names.
I'm not giving out fiscal. I'm not giving out finances.
Yeah, I mean, like, you want me to give you a guy I want you to bring on? The guy who told me it's a mindset. Eric de la Stick Rick Bugenhagen.
Is that your workout guy?
Yeah. It's a mindset. So I says every day.
Maybe we can see if we can get him on. I got to get the podcast a little bit bigger.
Cool. I want to run that interview.
All right. Okay. You can chat with him.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That's pretty much it. Quinn, what time is it?
It is 4:07.
On the 16th of July, Saturday. I always try to time mark these things one way or another just so that when the aliens listen to this 150, 200 years from now, they go, oh, shoot, okay. Still using the, what calendar is this? Gregorian?
Yes. There's some people that don't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's
used to accept their calendar. Pretty cool because then it just makes you realize time is just a concept.
Mm-hmm. Something we made up. Language, time.
Actually, here's the way I put it. The passage of time is real, but how you perceive it is the concept.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say time is just a concept and be late for every meeting. There's a societal understanding of how we perceive time. You need to stick to that if you want to be successful and manage your relationships.
Boom. What did you pull from the podcast? What did you like the best about the episode?
Today's?
Yeah. You got to sit in here and hear it firsthand.
Yeah.
Now you got to go home and edit it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I got to listen to all these twice, so that's fantastic. That's why I try to talk not as much. I don't know. I thought it was a good one. Holding yourself accountable, personal responsibility. Those messages all clicked with me. Something I'll be very open about struggling with. And yeah, for me, it's just the mindset of always wanting what's better. Of loving yourself so much that you can successfully love other people. Personally, I know, as I say all the time, you and I have been talking about this a lot. For me personally, it's hard for me to change how I view my relationships about always wanting the best for other people, because historically in my past, the thing that has kept me in a comfort zone, kept me happy, is looking out for myself first. And that's not to say I was cruel or spiteful to other people, but I was sometimes maybe negligent of what would be better for other people because it didn't benefit me.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think I've had times in my life where I probably wasn't doing it well, but I tried wanting the best for other people, tried supporting them with everything I had, and I had been burned in those instances. So, humans are very good at adapting. So my adaptive strategy was look out for yourself. Get what you need first, make sure you're taken care of. The rest will fall in place, which was working to a degree. I was comfortable by myself. My things were taken care of to an extent. So now changing the way I look at that is being like, I really need to shift my perspective, get outside of my own comfort zone and want something better for someone else. Very difficult because everything I've learned in the past couple of years says this is how you end up back on sitting on your hands, back on your ass. So, it's just kind of, it's unlearning a survival tactic, so to speak. Not like I was ever in that dire of a situation. I've had the camera on you this whole time. That's kind of funny. It's unlearning a survival tactic that has kept me running for the past number of years. So it's a complete mindset shift. And that's why I always say, change your mindset. Because that's my personal relevance, is I just need to change how I look at things, which is very, very difficult work. Everyone says they're doing that. Everyone says like, oh, I'm loving myself. I'm changing my mindset, but it takes a lot of introspection, and it's something you have the most time to do because you can constantly be doing it. Mm-hmm. Every action, every thought. But since you can always be doing it, I think that's what makes it so difficult, is because you can always do it. So I don't have to do it right now because I've got infinite time left to do it. So,
plan backwards to the day you die, bud.
Exactly.
Plan backwards to the day you die. That's a realistic thing you got to deal with.
It is.
You're going to die.
And so when it's something you can always do, I find you're more likely to put it off.
Mm-hmm.
I can always go to the gym. I can always change how I treat other people. I can always change how I think. So I don't need to right now.
Yeah.
Because I always can.
I think that's a lesson you need to be learning right now. I would agree with you. I think it's a super fair assessment. I think that in a way that's you loving yourself, because you're figuring out how to change your perception that's healthier so that you make healthier decisions and all that stuff. And
for me, it's getting the perception change to stick,
mm-hmm.
which takes constant work. Always showing up. That's like we talk about with the gym, which is something I have fallen off of in the past month and a half.
I did too. I was hitting the gym like crazy in January.
Yeah. I've been going hard for almost a year, and just this past month, so many stressors, so outside of my comfort zone, so many different things. I stopped showing up, and for me, I can look back now and see the domino effect that caused.
Yeah.
Because then it lets little other things slide, and everything starts to fall apart, and then it makes it easier. Once one thing falls apart, well, here's a new excuse for you to throw on the table and use. So a backward slide is a very real possibility, can happen to anybody at any time. It's like there's 1,000 different sayings in the world for it, but the one that's closest to me is get bucked off the horse, got to get right back up and get back on it. And it's very easy to drop that saying. And it's very easy to tell someone else to do that. It is very, very difficult to get back on the horse.
Yep.
And the longer you stay off, the harder it is to get back in the saddle.
6 months right here, dude. 6 months. How many times have I recorded this on my own and not put it out?
Yeah.
And then you and I recorded one, and then you, me, and Kyle recorded one. Didn't put any of them out.
Yeah.
Right here.
And
that's me dealing with it.
I find personally for me, small bites.
Yeah.
Small bites. Just start doing one thing.
Action is really what inspires inspiration.
True.
Like you need action first, and then you'll get going on.
But you can't do the action unless you show up.
Yep.
So do the little things. Start small. Don't overwhelm yourself. And it's me reapplying something I used to be pretty good at, which is just making difficult things routine so they do not occupy your brain space. So to keep it out of how I said,
don't overthink
since I can do it anytime, I won't do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you make it so it's not something you can do anytime, it's something you just do automatically, and you don't have to think about it. It doesn't have to take up a place in your brain. That's the easiest way for me. And I would think that people that listen to this probably have similar thought patterns to us. Maybe they don't. If you don't, welcome. This is what it's like inside the head
of the Gerber boys.
Yeah. But it's just it's making those small things easier, automating them to where, because every time I think about changing my mindset, about changing the way I think, I'll have one thought that's like, oh, I need to do this. So it changed my mindset. And then I have 30 thoughts immediately that go, here's why you shouldn't. Here's why that's a bad idea. Look where it's gotten you before. Look how this other similar situation turned out. Those thoughts for me hit me really fast. So if I make it so I don't even remove the chance for blame, like I said earlier, remove the chance for you to blame yourself by making that hard thing automated.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter which way you attack this, of course, there is going to be a level of difficulty. Even if you did do the smallest little bite, it's still going to be tough.
In a way, I've found that the less you think about it and the more you just go do it, sometimes the better off you're going to be. Granted, I'm an overthinker. I think you're an overthinker.
Yeah.
So we will think before we do. We do the same thing like when we're remodeling this house. I overthink everything that I'm doing in that house before I get it done. You overthink it. You're doing like a different style every different time you tear a piece off the wall. And then we're both blessed to have my brother-in-law up there helping remodel this thing with us. He does it. He's got a muscle memory, but he didn't get that muscle memory without putting in his time. He did 2 or 3 years of this before he's able to, and he can rip through 3 panels off the wall at the same time it takes us to take one off.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to get out of your own way.
Yeah. Get out of your own way.
And I think that's kind of like what I was saying earlier in the podcast with, I have had either the worst or the best of times. I've caused the most ripples in the pool when I did without thinking.
Yeah.
Whether they were positive or negative. That's when I've had some of my worst experiences, but it's, even from those terrible experiences, I've grown and learned a lot.
Yeah.
Because I did without thinking, so to speak. But I've also had some of the best times where it's just like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Mm. So, and mitigate that. Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation.
So you're going to hear us rehashing a lot of these life lessons.
Trying to learn these all the time.
And,
that's why we got to bring other people on.
Exactly. And I know personally, I repeat these things. If you hear me repeating a concept a lot, it doesn't mean I'm trying to force it onto someone else. It doesn't mean I want you to learn it. I do that to remind myself that I need to still be learning it and still be working on it. So I'm kind of similar to Drew in that respect. You will grow tired of hearing us both talk about these same concepts, rehashing them. But it should be pretty obvious. But
the hardest ones.
Yeah, they're the hardest concepts. And that's why I think you and I have to talk about them so much, is because we understand that they're so difficult. We have to constantly remind ourselves these are things we need to be doing.
And that we're not the only ones too. Everyone else needs to realize, like, look, there's a lot of people that deal with this, and we're just some other people that are dealing with it too. So we're going to try to keep you guys updated, keep you going, keep you excited, and keep you up to date on what This is the Drew Gerber Show, so I'm giving you an update on what's going on in my life as I pursue the hundreds of millions in the castle and all that, I don't know, all that stuff. Pursue a good life. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. We already said it was, now it's 4/18. It's July 16th. 4/18 is a Saturday. This episode is going to go out tomorrow. Samantha Walter, thank you so much for that last episode to kick off the new season, even though I recorded that 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, that's how you cover the break. This is just season 2.
Dude, it's season 2, baby. It's season 2. It's Sammy, you're killing it. We're going to bring you back on because you're living a whole different life now. I know you're doing all kinds of different stuff now. I mean, you're still doing baking, but I mean, like, I'm sure that the business has changed a little bit since we last chatted. So thank you for that. Yeah, have a good one, folks. Get at us, like, subscribe, like us on all areas. Hit that review button. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Anchor. We're on all kinds of different places.
Social media pages for your
social media pages.
We don't have any for the show.
I have a website.
You have a website, but you don't have any social media pages.
My Instagram is at thedrewgerber.com. Go and follow me at thedrewgerber on Instagram. And I'll be posting every time I make a post to the podcast. You'll see a post on my Instagram wall.
And I'll be reposting it.
And then Quinn will repost
at Quinn Gerber on Instagram.
At Quinn Gerber on Instagram. Nice.
Self-plug.
Yeah, that's pretty much the situation. You need to get Olivia on here. We'll figure it out. See you guys. Have a good one.